Gilg Jew, Gilg J as Gilg Nerach.
Sé Claare na Gael viscoller Skeealyn Machnish, as sé my heart in say Ciuin haltige. This is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert the Carslach.
I've heard tell of owl Bobby Bob.
And it's my pleasure to present Claare na Gael, and that happens in 2 languages. In the English language, as te tachert nies sa Gilg, and it happens as well in the Manx Gaelic, Ciuin Amera, the mother tongue of Ellan Vannin, the Isle of Man. As Bannacht and Jurish. David Robertson concluded his account of a walking tour of the island with 2 friends in 1791 at the end of chapter 14, but since then there have been 4 more chapters of observations. And then chapter 18 finally concludes in capital letters, End of the Tour. But it's not the end of the book. Ten allu van Helsing giara stiach ons coffin Lucy Westenra. Ten coffin follum. Ach fos genel en fairly John Seward, urlu de grail en allu, de ne Lucy vis li jail soul as Corlodden on scornach Petjanega Hampstead Heath, as Novelli, de jaru, en Eden Bess. Counstad for Gael, a tie Mary Westenra, ten allu chebel de John Seward an ocher den tai Meriw. Well, Cruniach, as we've been hearing, runs this year from Monday the 24th of July to Sunday the 30th. The first band on stage at the Centenary Centre in Peel on Monday evening will be Claare VOOAR. Tashu geestiach rish Radio Vannin, Stashu na Nashun, bis Skeealyn by Dúlish, Ellan Vannin. As we shen Claare VOOAR, As I say, they'll be the first band on the stage at the Centenary Centre in Peel for RENNICKS this year. Tomorrow evening they'll be playing there at 7:30, and that was Lhig bullad, and from their Rumours of Unease, Fáin Jane Yawesh. We don't know when David Robertson actually came to the island to work as a revenue officer for the British Crown, but he was in Douglas in 1787 and witnessed the wreck of the herring fleet in Douglas Bay. Subsequently, he left the island, but was apparently still in the revenue service, because he was able to come to the island in a revenue cutter, and that was in the summer of 1791. He made that tour in 1791 with his two companions, and his book about his tour was subsequently published in 1794. As David Robertson made his tour of the island, he's occasionally referred to bits of history. The problem is, of course, that he was writing from a perspective of historical understanding in the 1790s, when quite often it seems that popular stories became attached to the standing remains of buildings and so on, and there wasn't so much research to draw on that we'd call scientific or archaeological or academic. However, he also adds a section to his book now, having finished his tour, and this section he calls Review of the Manx History. Now, with the major caveat concerning the period that this was written, and as I say about the perhaps dearth of scientific, archaeological, academic evidence, it's nevertheless entertaining in its own right, so we'll be having a look through the chapters of the Review of the Manx History. Ren mi gera. Gene gera o ginnel vem, sein thou grey, maar ren mi courige day the freely. Gene ach weg te ager, doort me, for die de wel kopen G. As an she be, gene dolly a brische stjak ons glaas jane lied shen. Ge doort weg, ach hugge en ager se foggedegge. Esh dint she dou, de reelare eg derre tjaun en rullike, gauw jinne geshen freelare a tjauelje. Gauw mi in dem tjau chulu je bilje juur. As honnig mi a chumme dorge egge, gleesjige, derre renne klagen aai is na bilgen, nederein, dolle mache vai mechilje. She farar verdenach vem. Kaart look thou Gael me inid, giel mi klags synodage, boele dejeg. As rern en shell, hengt nan as gies. Vami furit as gin kriach. As corrie rish an olu, de rennick horlesh mi merish lied an neelkin. As rumpeen son chit. Vami ro fur as ro savinach, de Gael ara the Ciuin. With Clash VOOAR at the Centenary Centre tomorrow evening will be the international group Trip, who formed in Glasgow with musicians from Scotland, Ireland and England, and, of course, with Isla Collister. Well, here Alistair Mackenzie sings John Doyle's song about a vessel called the Arabic.
Saw I go through hardship and toil, Roscommon's rough lands, they own me. Digging potatoes and ploughing the earth is my family long did before me. But I swore I would furrow and plant my own seed, rise from my knees and stand proudly. America has Seward or some foreign shore would grant me the life I dream of surely. So I saved up the money, my passage to pay, and I braved the world early one morning. I bid adieu to my family among grief and tears, as they feared there was no returning. On the White Star Line I'd soon sail away, although the Great War was still raging. I walked along to Queenstown Midway, till the Arabic it loomed far above me. Who knows what fate brings and store. We peer through the looking glass dimly as I stepped on board and the steerage went toward below. Decks of dread chill spread o'er me. At last we weighed anchor, cloud o'er the main. The last hint of land dimming slowly. We zigzagged our course through fear of the worst, and the worst ploughed its course far below me. U-24, the scourge of the sea, spied us and soon we made ready. Torpedoes were loosed and our ship was reduced to a watery grave sinking steadily. The lifeboats were cast and the men entered last, but there were too few for so many. I jumped in the sea and a blast wounded me, and the blood it ran thick and ran freely.
And that's the sound of Glasgow-based group Trip, and members of the band will also be giving workshops on Tuesday for Cruniach. A charaw mi safinach dalwyd y Gael Machorum, mas o uliw cwjach fy dri traem. Doltasjum, chawt yn demi, smunny mi the vac mi riddenach gorish skell ben, fy gleisiach the de vilje juur dorracha eg chawn rollica fy soja van tai meriw. Eg y trech edden ren cwmma dorracha gleisiach fy chaw tolw bol van olw, as renni sairach day. Esh ren mish gleisiach yn yes, ach, ve arm gul magit clach yn ai as liachten as radling magit damu, as ren mi snapperal harish aichen. Moer ginach van spare, as bol enjach for the voin ren kellach morge germ. Beggen vorm, chow hall j linia de vilgen juniper, ren mi cowrach maach a cathan, cusachil. Ren komme ben liag frittel coira tai meriw. Van tai meriw heen na lai follet liorish bilgen, as gedod mi fagen bol ren a komme liai soel. Heel mi a tar men je gleisiige riech savol, van mi toicht wagen na komme ben. And so, Chapter 1, a review of the Manx history from the government of the Druids to the Norwegian conquest. To trace the origin of nations, to elucidate their progress from barbarity to civilization, and in a page illumined with the flame of genius, to give immortality to their patriots and heroes, is the office of the historic muse. But this dignity not corresponding with my present design, I shall promise little more than a chronological view of the kings of man, with a sketch of the characters of those rendered conspicuous by their crimes or virtues. The Isle of Man was known to the ancients by various names. Caesar distinguishes it by that of Mona, and a footnote against the name Mona tells us the Mona of Tacitus is Anglesey. And Robertson continues, Ptolemy calls it Monoida, or the more remote Mona, Pliny Monabia, and others Eubonia. Buchanan styles it Manna, the natives Manning, and the English Man. Well, that was a piece by Irish composer Stephen Rennicks from the BAFTA and Oscar-nominated Irish language film And Cailin, Ciuin, which films in Peel are showing as part of a Cruniac at the Centenary Centre on Wednesday the 26th of July at 7:15. Siodiw stasiwn na nasiwn o'r Radio Vannin, as she Claare na Gael visgol Skeealyn Mark Cartnish, Merin Peen, Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Did the ever hear tell of old Bobby Bob?
De Claare na Gael reclash na de schacht and look de giaull Skeealyn hier show through de chraman erager der in de degger Radio Vannin, as on shantame die Claare en Radio Vannin eljer regetten yes. As de kleine Gael regetten maar podcast, as shen nasty in de degger Radio Vannin, through de reicher de jou, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Audible, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, na Alexa. Now, it's interesting and useful that Robertson points out that the native called the island Manning, shortened by the English to man, which appellation, Robertson writes, Bishop Wilson derives from the Saxon word mang, and a footnote says that mang is signifying among. Now, Bishop Wilson makes this observation at the start of his History of the Isle of Man, which appeared in the second 1722 edition of Bishop Edmund Gibson's version of the William Camden's Britannia. William Camden's Britannia was from 200 years earlier than that, but Bishop Edmund Gibson started making a revision of it and expanded it, and in the 1722 edition there's a piece, History of the Isle of Man by Bishop Wilson. In fact, it was reprinted in volume 18 of the Manx Society publications. Bishop Wilson suggests mang meaning among because of, says Robertson, this island being literally among the neighbouring kingdoms. Well, obviously you hardly need me to tell you that it's not thought to be the case and was just a piece of, well, whimsy perhaps on the part of Bishop Thomas Wilson. As chit nol, hwr mi maach der awan olwon, as kummel ons na raiach egge, peidje fyr egg. Tre honnig emi ren a shina maach dus as doort wel o saiach a jane ish. Genel doort me onzacht van mi gennichten de wei baggertach, na wel o fagen a peidje. Te she peidje tonach, quai hug lesje gesaw, as wel e lottich, vry me. Niemets feather maach, doort na rauw. As leis onaidne gausjen roin maach as a rullik, as esjen gimmerke a peidje van a gadle. Ter a rengsjen bol beggen de odigger soel, heisjen stjaag ons klamp de wilgen, as doodjen fodan, as jichjen scornach a feitje. Vi gin skrabeg na kron je sortjer bi. Rauw mi kjaart, vry mi de barriachtach. Was een kaart ons drei, door den alle uit de buisel. Vi har een nishtjen u breunis erne ver jinnoain lesje feitje, as me saw lorsjen me gewoon shen. On Thursday evening there's a concert with a really atmospheric pairing of award-winning Scottish singer-songwriter KARINE POLWART and jazz improviser and composer Dave Milligan, and here they invite us to travel these ways.
Wherever we go, wherever we bide, whatever the wind and weather, wherever we go, wherever we bide, we'll travel these ways together. When the heart comes rolling in and you can't see your way into harbour, I'll heave the boat to till the sun clears the sky and it's safe once again to weigh anchor. Wherever we go, wherever we bide, whatever the wind and weather, wherever we go, wherever we bide, we'll travel the snow comes skirling in and buries the path that you've chosen. I'll light us a fire to keep us warm, and we'll wait till the ice is unfrozen. Wherever we go, wherever we bide, whatever the wind and weather, wherever we go, wherever we bide, we'll travel these ways together. When the storm has blown away and the night is as still as you're sleeping, I'll pluck out the scalp of the moon from the sky, and I'll give it to you for safekeeping. Wherever we go, wherever we bide, whatever the wind and weather, wherever we go, wherever we bide, we'll travel these ways together. Wherever we go, wherever we bide, whatever the wind and weather, wherever we go, wherever we bide, we'll travel these ways together.
KARINE Polwart and Dave Milligan at the Centenary Centre in Peel this coming Thursday, the 27th of July. The Ginnachsin Corleshe go stasiwn na myr yn si, vech orin cor cwnta Jane Chittas gulain fod na hi. Ag a goed slw vech orin cor cwnta eniach mechron an ach hacher de denkshin a feitje. Ma so feiera renshin brewnus de Ginnachsin Corleshe go so riest. As tre Ginnachsin klaasjen myr si chit, de Ginnachsin vergele ons bol nog Ginnach filieel de redne. Eis de Ginnachsin golroin tai chutavi as oddershin. Henk sjol in de sledden. Eg oil riest hamsted hielshin kesmud troma vershi, as looked on cora pechen a laie a chadan, durishin as ichshin, der a honigea, chouds ve gierige torchega hugge as vai. Hielshin a skredeg at de yindus, as esch heishin ron gin shien. Va eich bij ein tre hoorshin camp fagus de taine speni, as dimmanshin gusavalia. Ganadum cadle, maar so tabi recorta shaw. The original inhabitants, says David Robertson, most probably migrated from Britain. Now, just at the moment, I'm reading Professor Tim Clarkson's recent publication, A Mighty Fleet and the King's Power, the Isle of Man AD 400 to 1265, and he's suggesting that the Isle of Man had quite a strong Brythonic link, perhaps longer than hitherto thought. He's amenable to friendly coexistence in the island of Brythonic and Gaelic people, and bilingualism, with the royal family of Gwynedd chomping down, as it were, on the Irish Sea area between the jaws of the two Moners, the Isle of Man, and Ynysmon, the Isle of Anglesey. Anyway, Robertson continues. And as their chief employment was hunting, they lived in tribes, and their primitive government was patriarchal. Well, living in tribes or clans of extended family units suggests mutual assistance in a society, and I suppose it's the idea of kings that suggests patriarchy, something that Robertson was used to, having kings and so on. But then what about Boudica and the Iceni? That shows matriarchy amongst the Britons. Now, another duo at Cruniac will be performing in Lhig Church and Arts Centre on Friday the 28th of July are Manx singer Ruth Keggin and Scottish harper Rachel Hare. Here they perform Eubonia Saljach and An Grain Veg Orn.
Doris has
Augustus legend, Ciuin Viginu. Augustus legend, Tororo. Augustus legend, Ciuin Viginu. Augustus legend, Tororo. Pyre, Vero, Klein and Belgium. Tororo, Dillo, Glass and Doris as Opera's Gavin. Tororo, Dillo, Pyre, Vero, Klein and Belgium. Tororo, Dillo, Glass and Doris as Opera's Gavin. Tororo, Dillo, Augustus legend, Ciuin Viginu. Augustus legend, Tororo. Augustus legend, Ciuin Viginu. Augustus legend, Tororo. Pyre, Vero, Klein and Belgium. Glass and Doris as Opera's Gavin. Tororo, Dillo, Pyre, Vero, Klein and Belgium. Glass and Doris as Opera's Gavin.
Well, in fact, that was the Gaelic community choir CHORAA, and they'll be taking part in the Rennickส์, the song night at the Peel Masonic Hall on Tuesday evening, the 25th of July. So, that's some fool put it out of order and didn't tell me. Dear, dear. To this, the tribal hunting patriarchy succeeded the civil and religious institutions of the Druids, a race of sacred and venerable legislatures, who, after the general massacre of their brethren in Anglesey, reigned over the affections of the natives of Mona, till the close of the 4th century, when the light of Christianity penetrating the gloom of their umbrageous oaks, their admirable fabric of religion and morality gradually yielded to a system which in some of its most important doctrines resembled, yet infinitely surpassed, their own. By embracing Christianity, the legislative dignity of the Druids was not immediately affected. And a footnote says, during this period, the Isle of Man, according to Boetius and other writers, was the fountain of all pure learning, the residence of the Muses, and a literary retirement for the heirs of the crown of Scotland. From this it may be presumed that the erudition, genius and virtue of the Druids for some ages survived their religious establishment in this country. Ach sein thou CHORAA Sabine rish cústa uren, no the jig ban Helsing mahonig mun lei. Te shadow the ginnam gulmerish venture elia. And shaachto leis feed main fower. We gis a chlag rosh me dúrshin care cui son in neb, we shirwesh na meri rechit son mun lei, ol jint, as we fierst jerry barn na dobberni en gulnin red, da liaste soel. Treich as we sin in de Kerelach vai chow chulu je klampt de varnigen, honig sin klerach na killach cor a gat vo glas na lug. Va fissain de berg sin sausje der avori, de rauschen giri shen. Ach, din sin allu down na berg femijn nach oer eg een goed smoe. Rish, Janie me a chiel aglach, shen jane riechid eg ridden, as kunte je va eb, gammel just no. Rish deine me a chiel aglach, shen jane riechid eg ridden, as kunte je va eb bi shieldness jean de vein jou goei, as rem me tickle de bachtel, gauwen a lie was in Gael orin, ons een over jou chazerik ein. Cornish guests to Chroniach this year Morvran, the Cornish word for a cormorant, and they were playing a tune written about 25 years ago by Cornish fiddler Francis Bennett, All and Gerio en Beith, all the words in the world. Stasiwn yn asiwn dy radio Vannin as cartnes sé Claare na Gael was gulr Skeealyn as miss the Chebble, Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Have you ever had tell of old Bobby Bob?
As chow mui je shen, Janie me drawe ulju, gin image. Drach elal morwei de osle coffin lie, de yen rau ben va maru rish bunne shachten, maru the jaru, Bij Jean niste bij omages smooth de hosle jachrish, treva vissign, twy fenish na Ciuin heen, den ei follum van coffin. Ach, ren mi kriedlacht me gieltjen, as hanny me me host. No drau benig ban Helsing, de golle reid heen, dinne wies de pecher bi, jenach argene nai. Gawe en acher, doshele a tai meriw, as rish de courtoil, Caurige douw de gol rosh. Gerauwe bol gegrene as rair, ach, crane kummach om mi woezeler skin inch, treva salje na grenius scalius jachon. Huel van Helsing herish gus coffin Lucy, as dairmier. Renne krome rosh, as richt renne sai back a chule lai. As esh, ren grain de yindis as de chrias, rime a chrooj. Boetius, that David Robertson's mentioned in his footnote, was born in Rome about 480, a magistrate, consul and senator, but also a philosopher, very interested in the works of Plato and Aristotle. He published a number of philosophical works, one of which was translated into English by King Alfred the Great of Wessex. I'm not sure in what work he refers to Druids in the Isle of Man, though. But the Druids in Man were apparently not immediately affected by the emergence of Christianity. For, says Robertson, according to the Manx tradition, they and their descendants continued for several years the teachers and rulers of the people. And here he includes another footnote. Ninnius mentions the invasion of this island by one Binlay, a Scot, and other writers its reduction by Edwin, King of Northumberland. But these were temporary ravages and not conquests. Well, apparently you wouldn't want to be a conquest, but it would be acceptable to be ravaged temporarily. Now, performers at the Lhig Church and Arts Centre, as we heard, are going to be Ruth Keggin and Rachel Hare on the 28th, Friday the 28th. And having introduced them last time, but wrongly, here they are, but rightly.
Jeek, jeek. Can green tar Ellan ní san salje dout a gennel sai. Ten bilje fina smonach trú ma seo te jain kunde smu. Molly di merums vanani en ljun vaileja has a vrij. Dak sien as dakrel ton de golle soler sprinjon de beche stegel akka kol de newtje shogalish en sen en Ze me get en mush veche hasatjes taschenish. Molly di merens van en nie en ljun veletje has a vrij. Dag zien dat dakrel ton de golle soler sprinjon. O hesje gauw en flesje hoed, krenacht hiens da strunna ruud. Martin vol duidje koel en lamer schente sjolje sjelsen gaal. Molly di merens van en nie en ljun veletje has a vrij. De golle soler sprinjon. Ach met zijn green verbodje stil, doesn't het donne doen na hul. Hij is nog nu jok trette persje, shot het jinnu in die jela. Molly merens van een as a vrij. Dag stien is dagreel ton de golle soler sprinjon. O boyachen de koortje geel de edne shesh the gesnes way. Molly G. Merens Vanini and Lune Varaja as a fry. Dak sien as Dakreton, the Hala Solash Pignon. Ten Grindveg on, ten Grindveg my is Dassoon Sene. The Hadisham Ryan Gomerger is Limmaget the Thigh, is Limmaget the Thigh, is Limmaget the Thigh. Ten Grindveg on, ten Grindveg my is Dassoon Sene. The Hadisham Dane Gum the Gillian is Gillian Gum of Yea, is Gillian Gum of Yea, is Gillian Gum of Yea.
Ruth Keggin on vocals and Rachel Hare on harp there. And we heard a couple of Manx songs there. And one of them written, in fact, a translation of a piece written by Bishop Samuel Rutter. We come to the age of the Vikings now. But at length, writes Robertson, an eruption of northern barbarians spreading anarchy and devastation through the country overthrew their dominion, that's the Druids, their dominion, and a long period ensued in which the history of this island is involved in darkness and fable, till the descent of Ori in the 10th century. This prince was of the Danish line. Now, in Ireland, the general description of Vikings is usually given as Danes. Now, Scandinavians coming across the North Sea via Shetland and Orkney, then down through the Scottish western coast and islands into the Irish Sea, probably emanated from Norway. And after raiding, they would have settled in the Scottish Isles and coastline, taking local women as wives. And the majority, by the time of this King Ori in the 10th century, would have been several generations already on from being Norwegian per se. So these were Gaels. They'd an interaction between the Scandinavian line and the local Gaelic women producing the Gaels. Now, Robertson here, though, is talking about a legendary King Ori rather than about the historic Godred Crovan, who we'll find later in Robertson's account. We'll come back to Godred Crovan. So we're talking about a legendary King Ori here. On Shen, Val Lucy na lai, as is Jean Cart mar honig sin an rá sirvéis, egen rá sirvéis na Merriweather son. Wie, de bege possible, na sele, ons axail genach, na vi riw. As ge dat me krel, de rauw maru. Stjurg van a melen, genee, na stjurgen of a dry, as van a ljegenen me vlad a medde. Nee, klink shaw, vry me jay. Velo saie ge janish, dort en allu mo fregert. As gauws lore renne China mage lau. As ons zaagt, ho gorm wee krauw. Jaarne bak na melen maru, as heilsje maakt na fieglen bijna. Jich, haie jich, tad na skibby na wat rai. Les shaw, as wenny fair jane birgen as a fiegel foe, fuddy na patchen beggar ve gremich. Wel krel nish, machara John. Keer tel je ren noidjes argenach dus de choustaijim. Ga dod mi saige je ai mor we korrige, as we tushem getrouw morm. Now we'll be finishing with two pieces by Irish band Dervish, who'll be performing at the Centenary Centre on Saturday the 29th of July. Well, first we'll hear a song from them, and we'll be closing with an instrumental. This is the song A Storm of Chree.
A storm of Chree, when you're far away from the homes you will soon be leaving, and as many as the time Though the stranger's land is rich and fair, and riches and treasures golden, you pine I know, far long, long ago, and the love that's never olden. A storm a free in the stranger's land. There is plenty of wealth and earnings, wealth and gems adorned, from the rich and the grand. But there are faces with hunger tearing, though the road is weary and hard to tread, and the lights of the city may blind you, you turn a stone for errand shore, and the ones you left behind you.
Cathy Jordan singing with the band Dervish. Masol leis eber ar gain, as Jason ear sa chalid shen va mish goil niera, doort me, for either how he currit on Sean Yeris on leave on ryer. The jarl, shen marway, as quayag vejint. As semus, vejint ek pech enjach. Ach, na jai, tier vej maru rish on schachten. Gejinnach en goed smoed alise trei shen, Jean Masol. Gerau freigert hem de saw, Masol, vami mahost. Robertson writes, after subduing the Orcades and Hebrides, Ori at last established his throne in Mona. Though he assumed the government by violence, his reign was undisturbed by any domestic emotion, and to his polity the Manks are indebted for the origin of their constitutional representatives, who, for several succeeding ages, sometimes feebly opposed but more frequently sanctioned regal oppression. Chene, and as I mentioned, we're closing with an instrumental from Dervish from their At the End of the Day album, and Dervish will be playing at the Centenary Centre in Peel on Saturday the 29th of July. So enjoy in Cruniach, and I hope to see you on the week. Chris Pearson will be in any time now with music for chilling out on your Sunday evening. That's from 7 till 9, and then at 9 o'clock Judith Lay is in with Sundown. Ach Sinead Cartnish, as we saw until the next time then, this is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Oh, Bobby Bob.
Wishing you a very good night. Eve, I'm a Crieri, was Orselier, as my Yeri and shared you will you.